The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it.
Welcome to the InsideOutrz podcast with me, Danny Lloyd, the man that took the I out of addict and put the Y in you.
And it's your boy, the Lock Dog, and we are here with
a very, very special guest today. Her name is Roann, and she is from an amazing new startup called Cobber. And we are here to hear how you can turn what you think can't be achieved into what you think you can be achieved. So welcome, Roann.
Thank you, Danny, and thank you.
Just say the Lock Dog.
Jordan.
Lock Dog.
You can say Jordan. That's all right.
First of all, this is my first podcast ever.
Yeah, that's all good.
Ever. So, I don't know what to expect, but here I am.
Yep.
Giving it a go.
That's it, imperfect action. I mean, we've never done podcasting until about 5 months ago, and we just decided we'll try and make a podcast show, and then it did this. So we can't, it's all about having fun and sharing your story and inspiring other people.
Thanks, Jordan and Danny, for having me.
That's good. We're glad to have you here. And obviously in this show, what we try and bring to our audience and our guests is stories shared and understanding that mental health affects every single person, as does addiction and people that struggle through life. And hopefully what we aim to achieve is to educate, inspire, and help others to believe in better, as we bring guests on that have also decided to believe in better from their past to their present to where they're going in their future. And as such, we are here to support and bring people love and connection through community, which is why we were very interested in bringing Roann on as a guest, because as you will find out in this episode, the business that Roann has started is what they call peer-to-peer, which is based on community, and that's actually what Cobber means in Australian is mate.
Yes.
So should we get cracking into it?
Let's dive in.
All right. So Roann, how are you doing for real?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm well. I've been very busy, just focused on trying to move Cobber forward.
Yeah.
There has been ups and downs, and just going through that journey. Combination of a bit of a sort of anxious of looking ahead sort of thing, and don't know what to expect, and at the same time excited.
Yep. Very normal, I'm sure, in new business. I mean, me and the Lock Dog have been on a similar journey of different ilk, trying to create a business, and it is quite overwhelming and can be quite scary because you don't know what's ahead and you don't know what to do about what's behind. You just have to sit in the present moment and hope that it's the gift you're looking for.
Exactly,
right?
Yes.
Especially when you're in the building phase.
Yes.
It's just you are stuck in a pool of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And it's just a waiting game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like build, wait, build, wait, build, wait.
Yeah.
And hopefully soon everyone's going to have your application on their phone, and then the building's kind of done.
Yeah.
100%. But most importantly, I think what I keep telling myself, it's around not giving up. The notion of not giving up, because I know how this business could help a lot of people.
Yeah. I think that's something that inspired both of us when we first met you, hearing about your story and also understanding, you don't know what defeat is, which is what we base this podcast show around, is teaching people, if they don't yet know, that they're undefeatable. The only person that can defeat anyone in their life is themselves.
Yes.
Let's be honest. You 100%. See some of the amazing things that people have gone through, have endured, and have beaten by making sure they didn't give up on themselves. I mean, not just in business.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Nelson Mandela and what he did in that prison for 25 years because he just refused to give up on himself. So that's something that we definitely seen when we first met you at that business evening way back now in kind of October, was it maybe?
Yeah,
September?
It was a while ago. That was
last year.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
I remember it was a good night.
Yeah, it was a great night. And I think that's also what what led to us wanting to invest our time and belief in Cobber, because
Yes,
your vision is amazing, and I love the higher end goals and vision that you have for it. You're not playing small.
and I did remember at the time, because Jordan introduced me to you.
Yep.
And I found it really funny because one of my shareholder, you, Jordan,
Yep.
You have been looking for somebody to help you out
Yep.
at
Yep.
the time for the exact problem that I'm trying to solve.
I've had that repeatedly too, because me and the Lock Dog here, we most of our life have always just furnished our house with second-hand things. Now and again, we may have bought some brand new things, but not really. Let's be honest. Me and you have always mainly got second-hand stuff.
Yes, which then comes the problem.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I've had more than one occasion since investing in Cobber where I've got things online, and I've had to spend weeks trying to figure out how I can get said thing to my house, because I don't have a ute or a trailer or all the things.
Yes, I do like that story about, so there's a couple of my shareholders, one of them from New South Wales and then yourself, had the exact same problem. And I really like that story and how you guys could, yes, I'm going to support this because we needed this business yesterday.
And that's very much the first conversation we had, because you said that you're in the middle of building a business, and I said, tell me about it. And then when you told me the model, I went, your model would have been great yesterday when we had this problem.
That's right. It was literally the day before I was complaining about it. That's random.
And that's when I'm like, you got to talk to this guy.
Yeah, it's serendipity. It's definitely exploded rapidly. I mean, when I read the other day on a post I think you put on LinkedIn that this really only started on the 2nd of the 2nd, 2022.
As an idea, I got up one day and
So I didn't realize it was that recent until I read that. And then I looked at where we're now in April 23. And like, well, we'll go into all the achievements that have been happening lately. And the other day I seen you on LinkedIn with a picture of you and the bloke from Netflix.
the co-founder of
Netflix,
Yes.
right? And I'm like, where's this? This is madness. Like, I mean, it shows what hard work does, but it's amazing to see the growth that can happen when someone just believes in themselves and what they want to do. You
Absolutely.
know, it's very powerful, to be honest. Okay, why did you agree to come on this podcast?
So you guys are obviously shareholders and friends of Cobber and myself, and I do like what you guys do. You know, you advocate for mental health, and it's something that I strongly believe in as well, on how important to not to not disregard mental health.
Yeah.
And I do believe in, like, because you guys are part of my network as well. And,
Yes.
Networking had shaped my success in the last year, bringing Cobber forward and then meeting you guys. And here I am. I'm here to support whatever it is that you do. And I'm a big believer. And you guys are, big believer of what I do as well. And so I thought it might be, and not to mention, it's my very first podcast ever.
And it will definitely not be your last podcast, radio interview, TV interview, and who else knows what's ahead for you. There's no doubt about that. What do you hope our listeners get from your episode?
Definitely, I suppose, inspiration. So I'm always here I like to inspire others, and I've always wanted to create an impact in this world. I just didn't know what it's gonna be in the last, years of my existence. And then finally last year, I thought about Cobber idea, and this is it. And my life had changed. Since then, a lot of opportunities opened for me, and also for other people as well. It's like getting a lot of great feedback from people and how excited they are to get Cobber to launch, because again, they needed the service, yesterday.
Very, very true.
It is. It's always incredible to think how so many of us have a great idea,
Yeah.
and so many of us do nothing with the great idea. And I definitely think, you know, there's generally two columns of people. You got people that get up and they do only what they can do. Then you got people that get up and go, I'm going to do something I can't do. And here we are.
Yeah, I mean, did you know much about technology and apps a year ago?
No, I actually had a computer engineering degree in my early 20s.
Okay.
Early 20s. And, you know, what I did not pursue my computer engineering degree. I married someone in the IT industry.
Yeah.
And who's the father of my children.
Yeah.
And then I've done all the mom stuff, you know, raising the kids, and I didn't know what to do with my life. So I was just really, I shouldn't say just a mom, but it really was just, my life was just really all about that, just raising the kids. And I was happy and okay with it, you know, but there's also that sort of other side of me where it's like, oh shit, what am I going to do if kids are grown?
No, true. Well, and I'll tell you, I'll let you in on a secret, although I think I've told you this before. Obviously, Jordan had spoken to you that night and asked me to come and meet you about you were looking for investors and supporters. And I believe that when you invest, it doesn't have to be money. It can be time, money, support,
Absolutely.
friendship, whatever it is. I believe you invest in the person. And I didn't really, what you were trying to solve, it made sense. All the tech stuff behind it, I completely melt. I don't know what any of that's about. But the minute that you told me that you were a single parent of your children, or, you know, raising your children, whatever the ins and outs are of your the father and all the things, that was me sold, because I got raised by my mum and she was on her own for a majority of my upbringing for the first 10 years. And I know what it takes for a mother to have to raise one, let alone two, and how much you have to believe in yourself and back yourself every day and show up for your children or child every day. And so that was like, for me, when I knew that was your backstory, and then on top of that, you're then going out of doing this startup and everything else, that I believe you invest in the person, not so much the idea. The idea is just always going to work if the person works, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Apps, the technology in apps are a bit of a newer technology than back in the 90s or year 2000.
Yeah.
So I remember having, you know, that digital phone. Oh, so like 92 Nokia.
Oh, the Nokia 3310?
Yes.
Yeah. You won't remember that. You're too young. No, you're too young, brother. You're 27 just.
Yeah, so the technology of apps is kind of a new thing. So I'm not a coder, but I became a project manager, the visionary project manager, and learn as I go along. And now we have ChatGPT as well to ask for technical things.
Yes, I've seen this ChatGPT thing. I need to embrace technology more. I get ChatGPT has triggered a lot in me because I'm a writer. I like to write philosophy, poetry, and a lot of other things. Yeah. And I'm an author, and I like to. So anyway, all I know is that this means that technically all of that can become obsolete, or it can be used to do all of that now instead of you actually using your brain and thinking. And what concerns me about too much advancement too quickly sometimes in technology is I find it's just making us lazier and less likely to think. And the most amazing things have come out from ideas where people think.
Absolutely.
But I also get we're in a very strange environment with everything. Everyone's time poor, right? No, you meet anyone now, they're always so busy. And I just don't have enough time, and there's all this stuff. So I get that the ChatGPT AI stuff, is my understanding, is like doing that basic stuff that could take a lot of time for a new business. There's good things for it.
It definitely helps. Like I use it from time to time. Like if I'm going to edit our website and I don't want to sit there and think for ages on just a paragraph to add in, I'll go, write this for me.
Yeah.
And I might get it to do it, 10 different ways before I'm happy with what it gives me.
Yeah.
but it does save a lot of time and brain effort.
Yeah, no, I get that. I just worry about losing the creativity of a human being sometimes is all. But then I'm a bit old school like that. I need to embrace technology. So what was growing up in your world like? Because you're originally from the Philippines, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So what was that like? But I mean, how long have you been in Australia now?
15 years.
Okay, 15 years.
15 years, yeah.
So how old were you when you got here?
25.
25. So what was the first 20 years of life like growing up in the Philippines?
Poor. We were
Yep.
really poor. So my dad was a police officer, but police officers in the Philippines don't get paid that much.
Okay.
And there were 5 of us that they had to raise. And also there's a lot of domestic violence as well growing up, and poverty, domestic violence, combination of a lot of things.
They unfortunately tend to go hand in hand a lot when there is a lot of struggle financially. That brings instability. Instability then brings volatility, and volatility brings, unfortunately, antisocial behaviors towards each other, partners, families, friends, and communities.
Yes, absolutely. And as a child, though, I was quite an academic. I was actually first honors. In Australia, they don't have that, but in the Philippines, so I was consistently first honors from year 1 to year 6 and graduated valedictorian. But however, that was my sort of safety thing.
Yeah.
That if I am just going to be this, golden child, then maybe my dad, or my dad, I'll be safe. They're not gonna, whip me as much.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so
that was your like protective factor thinking.
Yeah.
Like if I don't give a reason to be smacked, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll shine too bright.
Yeah.
I'll be their hope sort of thing of the family that's gonna bring them out of poverty. Exactly.
Well, you sound just like Manny Pacquiao. What an amazing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should ask actually before I make that statement. I think he is an amazing man for everything he's done for the Philippines. Am I right in saying it, or is it not as true? I don't know.
Well, you are right in to some extent. I reckon he should stay out of politics. But other than
I think that went a little bit over. I think that's a bit out there.
Yeah.
He seems very smart.
Other than that, he's okay. He's got a kind heart and generous heart.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding of his boxing purses, which were massive, each boxing fight, was like something ridiculous, like 80% of his purse he would use for the community, building houses and infrastructure and everything around the communities. I mean, you can only believe what you read. I don't know, but...
No, absolutely. He's done a lot of that.
He's a man of God, my understanding is. But yeah, the politics...
And combining his religion and politics, it doesn't really...
No.
Yeah, in my opinion anyway. I mean, we're all different, but...
Of course. Okay. All right. So, because we are a podcast show that tries to promote and understand mental health and the like, what does the word addiction mean to you?
When I think of the word addiction, I always go to that to what Russell Brand had said, because I've listened to Russell Brand in the past, and the way in which he talks about addiction, he always say that it's the opposite of connection.
Yes.
And I do believe that it's an inherent, that there's like an inherent reason behind things, and another thing as well, like how when people say, oh, you're an addict, I think that you should separate your personhood to that association, because addiction is a behavior rather than you. So you're not an addict, you have an addictive behavior, because that's I think very first and foremost sort of thing. It comes a lot of to address that, you need a lot of self-love, and if you recognize that you're not an addict but you have an addictive behavior, you are already loving yourself in that
I like
sense.
that.
It's a really good explanation.
I like that.
Probably bang on how most professionals would explain it to you.
Yeah, I like that. Did you see a lot of addiction or people with addictive tendencies in the Philippines growing up?
Yes. Well, actually, particularly that's very close to my heart. So, because my dad actually was killed back in the Philippines by his own brother, and
Right.
the brother got away with it and all that stuff. Corruption fueled sort
Okay.
of environment. Police didn't want to have to do with it.
Right.
And all that stuff. And my brothers went through a really dark place. So they actually tried, we call it shabu in the Philippines. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
if you've
that's
heard-
meth.
Yeah.
That's the same because they have that in Thailand too. And shabu is crystal. It's meth.
I
It's,
actually had to Google that today before we came here. Google it shabu, and I've only just found out earlier that Japan uses the term.
that's
Malaysia.
correct. Yeah. Basically, a lot of the Asian area calls it shabu.
Yeah.
But it's meth.
I only knew it's called shabu in the Philippines,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I only had to Google it earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, it's actually used in.
Yeah, and it's really rampant in low social economic climates such as Thailand, Philippines, and that it's cheap to make. And when you're trying to escape pain, and not everybody has the resilience of yourself and your family to try and get out of those places that you found yourself trying to fight through with social economic problems. Everyone just wants to escape the pain, and that's a really easy way to numb pain. I mean, it's called ice for a reason. It freezes your emotions.
Yeah, so that was like quite a dark time when that happened to my brothers. My mom had to drag them out of the crack house, literally. And I've experienced, like, I've seen how strong my mom was. So they love my dad, and they're quite devastated about that incident. And
Wow.
but they're okay now. Okay now. That happened years ago. I'll say maybe 15 years ago.
Yeah.
When my daughter was a baby, around 11 months old. But yeah, quite a...
Where's is all your family still there?
Yes,
Yeah.
all my siblings are in the Philippines.
Okay.
So it's just my mom now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious to know, when was it or what was it that had you decide to leave?
Oh, actually, I migrated to Australia when I was 25 years old because I met my ex-husband, my now ex-husband, the father of my kids. So, yeah. So I moved here for love.
That's a typical story.
Don't worry about it. I did the same. Didn't work out for me either. In fact, that didn't work out, and then the next one didn't work out either.
Yeah. Why is mental health important to you, if it is?
Oh, it is important to me.
Especially in the business game, it's
absolutely.
Controlling this, controlling the
Absolutely.
mind is massive.
Absolutely. It's so because our brain, we have this negative and positive, the voices in our head. It's quite real. Sometimes no matter how confident and no matter how we've reached our success, we still have that voices in our head that tells us, you're not good enough, you're this and that, and you still have to sort of snap out of that. And that uncertainty as well of sort of trying to cross the other side of the bridge when it comes to business. And
staying there.
And staying there.
I mean, getting there is one thing. A very successful young lady actually schooled me and Jordan on this recently, who is the partner of one of our mentors, Mr. Peter Dempsey. And she said, if you want to do this business stuff, it's 95% mindset and it's 5% strategy. You two are behaving like it's the other way around.
100%.
And I'm like...
It is difficult though, because that imposter, he just comes out of nowhere.
Exactly, yes.
The whole imposter syndrome. And
Yeah.
It's like an invisible force that just cripples you mentally and makes you doubt everything you stand for.
Yeah.
And the missions and the reasons.
Yeah.
and you kind of just lay there and go, maybe it's not for me.
Yeah.
I am quite grateful at the moment because I've got my partner Matt who keeps reassuring me, of the things. Oh, you've come this far and this and that. And
Yeah.
sometimes we just needed to hear that from the people that we love the most. And
Yeah, it's interesting actually that you raised that you have the support of your partner Matt, because me and Jordan have done this business together as a partnership, so we've had each other, but you had to go out in the business realm of it, at least on your own. So having Matt, I think the people that go out there on their own and they don't have anyone, I'm not sure how they actually answer those voices without support, right? Because yet again, we go back to addiction. Opposite of addiction is connection, right? Or opposite of addictive behaviors or mental health struggles is connection. So you not having Matt, and to be honest, me not having Jordan, I think I would have lost the plot by now, because...
Yeah. And it is, like you said, having that one person backing you, saying, like, you didn't come this far just to come this far.
Yeah.
yes.
Like, what a waste of time that would be
Yeah.
if you throw it all in now.
I've mentioned to Matt in the past how you guys have each other, and how I think that support system is quite important.
It's been massive for me. I mean, Jordan and me are very far apart in age, but we don't notice it at all.
It's funny, though, how advantageous it's been for both of us, because
Yeah.
when we first started off, 99% of everyone said partnerships and business relationships like ours never work.
Yeah.
Good luck. See you in a year when you don't have each other.
Yeah.
And
That's the worst thing you can say to me. You tell me something can't be done or whatever, out of just pure stubbornness, I'll prove it wrong. But secondarily, anyone even saying that as a throwaway comment, as far as I'm concerned, was an insult to Jordan, and that's my family. So don't step across the line. And it would be the same if someone was to say something of whatever towards Matt. These are the people in your life that are going to get you where you want to be.
Yes.
Like, they are your cheerleader. I mean, look, the brother's here in the studio with us today supporting you, right? So it's really important, I think, to have that person behind you, because sometimes you are weak. Sometimes you will be weak, even though you've got to show you're strong. And having that person to inflate the balloon again so that you can rise, it's very important.
Yeah.
What was your lowest point in life, honestly, in all the time you've been on this earth now, moving through it?
Yeah, I think that it was when my dad passed away.
Yep.
I think that I thought that my dad had a lot of life to live still. So it's quite complicated in the in our culture. People in the ethnic sort of culture,
Yep.
like myself. And I get the same comment from a friend of mine who's got a Persian background, can say that yes, we have a strange sort of. So what happens is my dad was quite violent when we were younger, and as he grew older, he's become soft.
Yes.
A soft man, and he'd become a bit more loving and a bit more. Paid respect to me a bit more in my early 20s, it was like an opportunity that was sort of cut off.
Yes.
And it would have been great right now. So my dad is actually such a great storyteller. In the startup universe, we all talk about storytelling and the power of storytelling, and how you can talk about your business via storytelling. And my dad was such a great storyteller, and just thinking about it now, how proud he would have been of what I'm trying to do now. But he's my number one inspiration when it comes to that, because he was a natural. Like, people would literally stop and listen to him. And it was the lowest point of my life when when my dad was killed, and I wish, yeah, it was such a dark moment. And as I've mentioned earlier about my brothers,
Yes.
sorting things out within themselves via methamphetamine.
The shabu. Yep.
Yeah, and and even now I still think about it, and I still get really sad thinking about my dad. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what happens after we leave this planet, but I'm pretty sure wherever he is, he's watching what you're doing, and he'd be smiling pretty widely.
Oh, thank you.
So, if for nothing else, he's given you the ability to tell the story of Cobber and the story of you, which is partly why we wanted you on here, to tell your story. And secondarily, in the harder times, he gives you the motivation to believe in better for you, right? He pushes you forward. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
So what does it mean to you, because we brought this up already, what does it mean to you being a mother to your children?
Being a mother, I want them to, I think I'll be really happy as a mother if I could see them be okay in life, be okay as adults.
Yep.
I do believe that being an adult is one of the toughest gig.
Tell me about it.
And and I just want them to be okay, and I'll be happy as a mother.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something my mother taught me is the only thing you can do as a mother, she said, is you can prepare the children for the path. You can't prepare the path for the children.
Yeah.
You can raise them how you want. Once they get out into the real world, you just have to have given them all the tools and all the strength of character that you have. And then from there, they're going to take the hits anyway, right? It's just a case of knowing that, like I've always said this, the reason I got out of addiction and all the trouble and stuff that I was in I didn't get into it thanks to my mother. I got out of it thanks to her.
Oh, bless her.
Like my resilience of character, the things I've faced, the way I've beaten it, the way I've got out of it was because of the way my mother raised me. Not what people say. People always say, oh, it's the parents' fault. No, not at all. I got out of it because of the way I was raised. Just like anything that comes along in your children's lives, they'll get out of it because of the way they were raised by you. You can't control the path. They'll do what they do, but they'll be survivors, just like yourself, just like all of us. Like that's all we can do, So, good on you for being that mother that they need. A lot of people don't even have a parent, and unfortunately, it shows a lot of the time because they end up in a lot of bad places.
Speaking of surviving, though, if you could be faced with your 18-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
18-year-old self. I wish I didn't get my hands on the cell phone technology, because I remember
It is ironic.
It was a transit. It is ironic now that I'm a founder of a tech startup.
Yep.
But at the time, just thinking about that time, I wish I remained to be a kid as much as I could.
Yeah.
I think, so, it was like growing up in a transition where, I remember everybody, like I was talking to my, the barrister that I work for occasionally, and he made a joke about like back in the days, the way in which we communicate. And he made a joke about, back in the days, we just put a note on a pigeon and then let it fly.
That's very true. That was a thing. Or we looked at the street light and went, I got to get home now to mum and dad.
Exactly. And then, so it was a bit of a transition sort of in the 18-year-old me between that to sort of the technology, the emergence of technology.
Yeah.
And things, there are things that I regret that I did at 18 years old, because I had the access to that technology.
It is kind of a contradiction, isn't it? Like technology is so creative, but yet it'll steal your creativity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's you know, within reason, you have to be just as aware of your use of tech as you are aware of your voice in your head telling you can't do something, right? Because I mean, I used to do hospitality part-time. I've done a lot of part-time work. Even now with this business, as we build this, I do whatever I have to do to keep my bills paid. And I used to work in a restaurant, and I remember being in a restaurant lots of times, and I'd look while waiting to serve someone else, like everyone's been served and everyone's at their tables waiting for their food or trying to converse. But you'd look up sometimes and look at everyone in the tables. Not one person was looking at each other and discussing anything, or if they were, it was by showing something on a phone. I found that quite frightening in a way. Like it's like this ADHD epidemic. It seems like everyone has ADHD. I don't think it is that. I think it's that we don't know how to sit and have the attention on nothing anymore.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that as well, and it to be honest, it did affect my relationship as well with Matt, because Matt is a bit of an old school, and he's got, you know, he's into technology as well, but not as me. Not like how I interact with it, and you know, I've got a lot of stuff on my mind, and like I gotta look on my phone to see what's going on, that kind of stuff, and I gotta learn sort of in the last few months to separate that. Like for example, on the weekend, you know, make sure do not answer emails, that kind of stuff.
Yes. Well, there's simple things that you can do to address that, such as, you know, don't keep your phone in your bedroom at night, so that in the morning the first thing you get up to do shouldn't be pick your phone up, and because the minute you do that, right, you've put your brain straight into fight or flight, because it's like, oh, all the emails, all the notifications, all the XYZ, it's like it's going to be there in 20 minutes time. It's
a overdose of dopamine.
Yeah, it's it's a dopamine
in the afternoon. By the time it's 5 o'clock, you've already had a lot of dopamine, and it's not good.
Which is that's what causes most highs on drugs, is dopamine. The drug is just a precursor. Any drug, it's the feeling on the drug. That's dopamine spikes, right?
Yeah, and then you've got the other end of it. After a lot of dopamine usage, there's a rise in cortisol, anxiety,
100%.
Your temperament's generally negative, and it can affect relationships.
Yes.
Yep, massively.
You know, you become a bit more irritable.
Yep.
And it's just because, like, you're brain dead at that point.
Yeah.
You've got nothing left to give. Don't ask me any complex questions.
Yes.
I'm going to snap.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is it? So I'm interested to know then, what is it that you have put in place for you and Matt, so that you can try and disengage from this technology and give more attention to a human than the phone?
We did have a lot of sort of moments around that, and I am taking accountability, and also have actually consciously gave myself commitment to making a change, because, you know, in the beginning it was just me. I don't have to, and then I realized, there's actually another human being here that I have to engage with. He's here. It's not going away. He's here.
And this is why I have a lot of issues with these things. Why I'm struggling with the Chat GPT, the AI. We're being dehumanized every minute of the day. And I don't think it's okay personally, but I understand that there's elements and parts and things that need to be accepted about it. But I think in its own sense, if you are running a tech company, someone should have brought something out at this point where there is a training or a program or something that helps tech startup founders understand how to untech themselves when they're not in their business. Otherwise, you end up you can imagine you keep rising up and doing what you're doing with your tech company, and this thing is controlling your life outside of when you're actually doing your work hours. Next thing you know, everyone just ends up alone because they've marginalized the human for the robot.
When I was at the startup festival, where I had that photo with Mark Randolph, the co-founder of Netflix, he said something about how the enemy of, like, one of the challenges of founders is focus. And because, you know, doing things all at once, and yeah, we do have an epidemic of I've heard or read a phrase previously that says attention is the rarest commodity.
It's actually also now what everybody's making money off.
Yes.
So instead of gold, we used to mine gold, right? We used to mine gold and natural resources. The resource everybody is mining now is attention.
Absolutely.
Like people literally don't even have to work anymore. They can figure out how to monetize an Instagram and become an influencer who most of the time I'll say sell absolute rubbish to you, and people are listening to this rubbish that people are peddling because everything now is about attention, right? Everything, even business, it's like you have to have social media now to do business. You have to have, like apparently it's you just can't not do it, right?
Yeah. You have to be on TikTok.
Everything.
Instagram,
So yeah, it's an ironic thing because I love the irony of it, because your answer, obviously, from what Jordan asked you, was you wish you hadn't picked the phone up.
Yeah.
But yet, what you now have started up as a startup, which could help a lot of people and change the world, is from a technology.
Yeah.
So I think like everything in life, right? Like everything in life can be good if you know your boundaries and limits to how much you use it.
Yeah.
Right? But if you don't, it can get out of control. But having the awareness, and it sounds like you have in your relationship awareness where you two can communicate and understand the needs of each other, having someone that has the ability to communicate and bring awareness to the fact of addressing this is the first step to addressing this.
Yes, and I actually had a lot of self-reflection as well. So when Matt brought that up, it's just something that he wasn't used to, and here I am, and that I'm glad that he's there as well to sort of bring that balance back into my life.
It's not abnormal. Everybody's guilty of it.
Always guilty of the endless scroll.
Yeah, the scroll hole. So tell us. And I'm going to make sure I try and say this correctly.
Yeah, good luck.
Tell us about what Bayanihan. I had this locked down in my head at the start.
Let's let Roann pronounce the word.
Bayanihan.
Tell us what Bayanihan means to you.
Yeah, so Bayanihan, from the word being Bayan. So Bayan means town.
Okay.
And be like being town, being Bayan. Yeah. So it means a spirit of communal unity and cooperation. So growing up, Philippines has got a culture of worth like thousands of years old of culture, and one of them is just when people gather around and help somebody who just recently built a house made of bamboo.
Yep.
And nipa heart. So nipa is like leaves that can come out from coconut trees or bamboo. They just call it like a nipa house.
Yep.
So made of that. And what happens is people would gather around and help this person move that house. It's quite a big house. Like it takes maybe a whole sort of community to come and lift the house.
Yeah.
But they do that. It's like a culture in the Philippines, and I'm quite inspired by that. And opposite of that is isolation.
Yeah.
And what happened to me as a single mom is that I source my home. I live in a public housing, and I rely on secondhand furniture from Facebook or Gumtree to, and they're a bit heavy for me to carry, obviously, but no one in town would come out.
They're a bit heavy for me to carry, and I'm 6'4", so.
So that was the sort of the inspiration. And what if, with technology, we could bring the concept together and get somebody out there, nearest person that can help you with that problem of accessibility. And automating the process and all that. And also with our Australian culture of mateship, I've drawn those inspiration in the Cobber
Yeah.
business idea.
So you would say that Bayanahan is the foundation blocks to the idea,
Exactly, and
which is rooted in your culture, which is amazing.
Was that intentional?
I,
Or did it just so happen that you had a great idea that is also related to that concept?
it did so happen that the opposite of how I'm feeling, that my problem of isolation at the time, because I've got nobody to help me,
Yeah.
and thought about what it was like in the Philippines, where
Okay.
people would come out and help, and I wish it is just that easy, sort of thing. And yeah, I think that the technology have that capability to bring people together.
Yeah.
There is, good and bad in technology, but there's also that good that we could utilize.
Oh, 100%. No,
Yeah.
100%. It's really cool. There's a gentleman, one of many people we've met along the way and on our small business entrepreneurial startup journey in Adelaide. And he's just launched something through technology that you wouldn't have thought would be used by the people he's made it for. It's called Care Window, which is Zachary Bailey.
I'm not going to try to explain it.
No, but it's
just check it out.
It's anyway. My point being is Zachary Bailey, who also runs and owns the Innovation Factory in Adelaide. He come up with Care Window, and basically what it is it's for aged care, like old age pensioners.
Yep.
They can literally have this app, this thing open, so they can have the video streaming all the time to be able to be around their loved ones without being around their loved ones. I don't know the ins and outs fully, so I'm not going to try and explain it like Jordan said. I'm not going to go into it. But yet again, technology can connect us when we're in a position that we can't be connected.
Yes.
Right? But also, on the flip side, it can then make us disconnected when we should be connected. When we're younger people like all of us,
Yeah.
we should be getting out there and actually being around us, like to talk, and we don't. But aged care, there are people in aged care and homes, they can't get out to be with their family all the time.
Yeah.
So then it has a positive.
Yeah.
It's like everything, right?
It addresses that accessibility problem
Yeah.
and isolation.
Yeah.
I really like that whole concept is drawn on the best aspects of culture.
Absolutely.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I always wanted to, make some sort of impact.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, for a long time, I just didn't know what it is. But all I needed to do was to look at my own adversity.
Yeah.
And I was sitting on this opportunity to solve people's problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've spoken around the bush about Cobber. So let's go into what is Cobber, because we've got a bit of a concept of what's built up to it. Let's break it down. What is it?
Yeah, so basically, I'd like to say that it's the first streamlined technology that connects people in terms of accessibility for larger items, specifically larger secondhand items. So it came from my personal problem around accessibility. So I'm a single mom, migrant woman in Australia. All my families are in the Philippines, and I wish I could, just call somebody, but it's not that easy sometimes. And people have got things to do. But I found that a lot of people are actually doing it already, but as their sole trade work. So they go and collect furniture.
Yeah, like on Airtasker and things like that. Yeah.
But at the moment, there's no streamlined accessibility. So I'm from the southwestern side of Adelaide, and I could be getting somebody from the north.
Yeah.
What that would mean to me is I'm going to end up spending more money. So it's just all over the place, a bit disorganized. But I thought, what if I could get, you could have somebody nearby, 5 to 10 kilometers, that could come out and help and utilize their own vehicle and earn, financially rewarding for them to be able to do it. So we're designing the business in a way that we are incentivizing drivers and to make it worth it for them and all that. And someone like me can have access to that kind of help.
Yeah.
So would you say it's like much more of it's like an organic type of Uber in relation to I need a service, Uber being taxis, for instance, but then I need this thing picked up, and so then it will pick up through the app. There's these people in the area that do that, and then that person gets the job and comes to collect the item and bring it to the person that engaged them originally on the app. Is that basically kind of, to the layman out there that doesn't understand these things, is that kind of the concept?
It can be described as like the Uber for larger secondhand goods. Yes. The technology is a bit more streamlined, like Uber. So, that technology had been around in the last 10 years.
Yep.
And it's just that at the moment, no one is addressing this particular niche in the market. And it just so happened that it was my personal problem and I just had enough of it.
Yeah, okay. So that's what I was going to say about what sparked the idea. So it was just that sparked the idea. Like you just, because as you said, you were a single parent, you're a migrant, you got the public housing thing, you're needing stuff, and it just kept becoming an issue. And plus, I'm assuming within reason, you didn't have a big network like you would in the Philippines of knowing people to ask to help.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. I've usually would offer. So if I buy something from Facebook or Gumtree, I'd ask them straight away, "Hey, could you deliver this for? I'll happy to pay extra $30."
Yep.
And if they do, there are some people out there who owns a van or ute and was happy to do it for extra money. And it's just that sometimes if they don't have the suitable vehicle, then I just have to miss out and try my luck next time.
Okay.
Yeah, well, a good example was you, 3-4 weeks ago, trying to get a big freezer.
Yeah, chest freezer for the ice bath clinic, the therapy area for our business.
That was like a week and a half of asking half the town.
Actually went on for nearly 3 weeks by the time we did it.
Yeah.
And that was the same as picking up the
You were
weights.
just lucky that they held on to the item.
Well, even more risky, I sent them the money. So like normally on Marketplace, they want, cash on arrival. Yep. But because I knew I couldn't get there anytime guaranteed soon, but I didn't want to lose the item, I took the risk of actually getting them to tell me their bank detail and send them the money, and then hoping they're not going to try resell that again. And it took nearly 3 weeks from sending them the money for me to go collect the item. Yeah. Not everyone's that patient.
Yeah, so the idea is we are automating and streamlining that process. So we'll get somebody nearby the pickup address.
Yep.
The idea is for you to be able to book it straight away like Uber.
Yep.
And drop it off to your house and
Yeah, okay, cool. So I'm interested, what sacrifices have you had to make to get the business where it is as of today as we talk, from the 2nd of the 2nd, 22 to now? Mm-hmm. What sacrifices have you had to make to get here?
There are a couple of things. So one is that, so at the moment, my daughter, who is now in high school, and first year high school, and my son, who is 10 years old, I made arrangement with their dad so that they could have them in 90% of care, so that he could do all the taking them to school, all that stuff, so that I could have this opportunity to move this business forward, at least in the next year. And then once everything settles down, then we could consider arrangements again. But I shouldn't be I'm not guilty about that, because at the end of the day, dads are allowed to be caretakers as well.
Correct.
And I've done all the raising in the last 10 years.
Well, I was going to say, it's not like they're babies. It's not like you've just gone, straight away and gone, oh, can you just take the kids while I go and build this business? It's like, no. I've had the kids and I've got them to a point that you said your daughter's in secondary school.
Yeah, yes,
right?
and she takes the train to high school.
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
So, you know, yeah, that's good that you were afforded this opportunity to gain the support that the father did this. At the same time, it's not like you haven't put all the work in to ask for that opportunity.
Yeah, yes. So yeah, their dad is supportive as well. So I'm very lucky in that regard. And and another thing is because I was actually studying law.
Yes.
And I had to opt for the alternative exit award. So I've graduated diploma of laws instead of the law degree because now Cobber had become my priority.
Of course.
But 3 years ago, I, came to this idea about how this is, I want to be a lawyer. This is what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And until the Cobber idea came about. But not to say that I'm going to give up the law degree completely. It just means that I don't have to study law and be forced to, because once you graduated from law, and I've only got a year left, is that you're going to be forced to do the GDLP, the postgraduate, and that's a full-time commitment.
Oh, you have to do it.
Yes, and so there's certain sort of time that you got to do it, sort of thing, and I just knew that once I finish the law degree, I'm gonna be forced to be doing that full time, and there's no way I could commit to that, and so I had to give that up. So graduated the diploma of laws, and once Cobber sort of is in place and all that, then, not to say that I could go back and still do that later on.
I'm interested to ask another question, and you don't have to answer it, but I swear I remember this being part of your story originally before you found investors like us to raise money.
Yeah.
What sacrifice did you make to try and raise money for this business at the start? Am I right in saying it was something to do with CMAX?
Oh yeah. So I go on CMAX clinical trial.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it was a sacrifice, more so giving sort of helping the science.
A means to an end.
No, of course. But I mean, at the same time, you're still, yes, you're giving yourself to science, but you're also having to do something that a lot of people would be quite overwhelmed to try and do. But the reason I was asking the question is I wanted people to understand the level of commitment that you have. And I'm not marginalizing you also were helping science, but for a lot of people, they wouldn't do that. And I'm trying to highlight for people listening the level of commitment you have, because what I feel about this episode in particular is I feel this episode is going to be received very well on LinkedIn. There's a lot of people on LinkedIn there that have a lot of keys that could open a lot of doors. Yep. I want them to be able to take away, Jordan wants them to be able to take away from this episode the level of commitment you've had from day dot and how serious you are. I know the Adelaide people know it, and I know people are starting to know this, and we'll talk about Lot 14 and that amazing achievement you've pulled off too. Yep. But I just think that grassroots stuff, that level of commitment to just go, I need money, I'm going to go do a clinical trial to raise some money, because this is when a man or woman knows their why in life, they can bear anyhow. Yep. And to do that, it's funny because actually me and Jordan.
Yes, we did. Me
and Jordan
did maybe explore doing the same thing at one point.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, because we were struggling for money.
It's pretty good money.
Yeah. It is pretty good money. You just got to pick the right trial.
Absolutely, I was quite good at picking the right trial, actually. So when I spoke to my contractors to build the software, I did not have any money, and I didn't know why I was even talking to them. Yeah.
Well, but you figured it out.
I figured it out. I made $5,000. Yeah. Paid them, to start with a contract. Yeah. And all I had was $5,000 and a lot of audacity. Yep. And I didn't know, what's next, sort of thing, or the $5,000 is gonna run out.
Yep.
So what it is when you engage a contractor, you sort of pay them off, like based on sort of stage 1, stage 2, stage 3.
Okay, it's like a project management type of contract.
Type of contract, yes. And I know that on the 3rd stage, I'm gonna run out of money.
Yep.
And so I only had $5,000 in Audacity, and then later on, I pitched my idea to a university mate in law school,
Yep.
Who lives in New South Wales, and she's also a businesswoman as well. So she's one of those people where I think that when you approach businessmen and women, they know when they know. It's like
Definitely.
yes, just like when I met you guys. You
Yep.
guys are
And that was a funny experience because I normally don't care about what people have to say around their startups until it gets somewhere, and I was like, I don't know what she just said, but I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, show me the numbers, grab the big guy.
Yeah.
Let's rock and roll. I don't know what it was. Like, it is. When you know, you know.
Yeah.
You know, if that was someone else that night, I'd probably be like, yeah, okay, that sounds cool. Good luck.
Yeah.
So it's like talking to the right people, isn't it? So
I think so, and I think Jeff Bezos actually gave this as advice to Shaq O'Neal because Shaq's a big investor. Jeff Bezos tells Shaq once upon a time, invest in things that you're passionate about and you'll 5x your investment every time. And Shaq has said it's proved it again and again. So for me, investing in this, knowing it's peer-to-peer, knowing it's helping people lower social economic to make money, knowing it's solving a problem, and knowing a single mother was driving that, like it was a no-brainer for us to invest. And it was the same within a few minutes of Jordan talking to you.
It was
have
also,
that feeling.
It was also a great pitch because I managed to take in the pitch in a very noisy room, like the music and people talking everywhere. And, you know, like, you got to create an offer that someone else feels stupid saying no to.
Yeah.
And I knew if I didn't grab the big guy, I would have spent the rest of the night feeling really stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it. I remember it well. It's funny because I was just selling my vending machine business. It was just a small little thing I tried. And then he comes and he says, we got $5,000. I'm like, soon maybe? And he's like, oh, you got to talk, you got to come speak to this lady and what she's doing and the goal. And then we talked, and then it was like, I'm calling up Max and going, get the business sold, bro. I need money. I need liquidity. I got nothing right now. I'm locked out the markets everywhere.
So so I spoke to that Unimate Bobby, and so I did the pitch to her. We did all the Zoom, showed her all the financial forecast and the goal and all that, and then she went to her accountant to get some financial advice. She then came back to me and said, "Oh, by the way, my accountant wanted to invest as well." And my
That's
husband.
a good sign.
So all in all, to build I've raised the money to finish the software, the development,
and congratulations on the Lot 14. Do you want to quickly explain? Because didn't that kind of make a little bit of history with you being the specific person to have got that placement or award? I didn't even know what Lot 14 was, by the way, until 6 weeks ago. It's the Silicon Valley of Adelaide, or is it Australia?
Well, yes. Our beautiful town, Adelaide, have this like a version of Silicon Valley, which is Lot 14, and all the startups are residing in that area, from space startup to all sorts of startup. And I won the International Women's Day scholarship award to reside there in Stone and Chalk, and apparently out of 70, so Stone and Chalk is like a national brand, like, so there's Stone and Chalk in Sydney, Melbourne, major cities in Australia, and they had to choose 77 startups across Australia, and apparently I was the first one to be selected in South Australia. So the panel really liked Cobber, the idea and how innovative it is, and so I won that this year. One of the winners, I think they selected 3 winners, so one in New South Wales, one here in Adelaide, South Australia, and another one in Melbourne.
And I noticed on LinkedIn the other day, your first day at Stone and Chalk, and the picture of you sitting at your little area. And
Oh no, that was a photo from my house. I just
okay.
It was a sticker of Lot 14. So
that's
I had
right,
a
yeah.
sticker on my
Sorry.
laptop. And
I thought Stone and Chalk was a winery, and I didn't even know what Lot 14 was. That tells you how much I know.
Yeah,
about
I
tech.
was the same.
I'm with Matt. It must be a British thing. We don't know tech much.
I was the same because you said like the whole Lot 14. I'm like, what's that, like a winery or gin distillery or something?
No.
And he's like, no, Stone and Chalk. I'm like, gin distillery then. He's like, no, it's like the Silicon Valley of...
I only knew that because I Googled it. I didn't know what it was either. I was like, hey, well done, Roann. And then I looked it up. Oh, right. No, this is a big deal. Okay, cool.
it's it's the place of hangouts
Yeah.
for startups.
So what's the vision and mission over the next decade?
I do have big ambitions for Cobber. I envision it to become the next unicorn company. Adelaide's unicorn company.
And just explain quickly to people that don't know the business world as much, unicorn being...
Yeah, so in the venture capitalist, unicorn is once a business is valued at 1 billion. So one of them is, for example, Canva.
Yep.
Yeah, so Canva is a unicorn company. And usually, so Uber, for example, reached its unicorn status on its 10th year.
Yep.
So similar.
So you have similar kind of goal set, which is
Similar
10 to
ambition.
12 years, wasn't it, for unicorn?
Yes. That was how I envisioned it, and I aim for the Cobber brand to become a household name.
Yep.
When you know how with Netflix they associated it with Netflix and chill, but what that means is like it's just a part of the household.
Yeah, it's become it's just part of the English language now and been used to reference something else, right?
Yeah, so the same thing with Cobber when people are experiencing that problem in terms of accessibility. Hey, why don't you just get a Cobber?
Yeah. No, I like that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what values are important to you when you think about the kind of business you want to build? What's your top values for Cobber?
Definitely building that peer-to-peer culture, accelerating that peer-to-peer culture, and at the same time creating means of passive extra income for the drivers in the gig economy who wanted to, do a bit of work to put some extra money in their back pocket. And I do have this thing about, or believe in the way in which capitalism works is that there's always lower to middle class is always going to be created because of inflation, and that often forces inequality and poverty, and
Correct.
Gig economy is just another sort of means for people to have that sort of avenue for them to create extra income back into their household, and via technology and connectivity and creating this business model. The values is always around that peer-to-peer community and like an ecosystem of people
helping people help themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a win for everyone. You get your freezer, I get paid for dropping it off, and Cobber expands.
Yep.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and at the same time as well, the Cobber concept, it does help decarbonize our planet as well, because we are, using existing resources.
Yeah.
And to keep the vehicles on the road minimal, because you don't have to sort of rely on all this big commercial.
Yeah.
We can do it ourselves, sort of thing.
Yeah, true.
It's definitely community. It's all about the community.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Such a great idea. It's kind of a multi-dimensional message because, a lot of people have something tragic, big or minor, happen in their life and they can't leave it. they can't heal from it and go on to improve and grow and really live life to the fullest because they're just stuck in it. It's like these things
Stuck
have
in the
happened
problem.
and I can't move on.
And I can be sort of, in a way, because we're all, you know, I think the great thing about me is that I'm not ashamed to sort of acknowledge if I'm actually, you know, making a mistake around something. And one thing that I can say is that I'm also guilty of that as well. Like I tend to be hard on myself when I'm trying to achieve something and I want everything to be perfect sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then I make this particular mistake and I just, you know, it ruins my whole day sort of thing. And, you know, I think it's a very important skill to be able to do that.
Okay.
Cut yourself some slack. And that's got to do with mindfulness as well and
Massively.
and mental
And self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
Having
mental health.
self-awareness is very important. If you had the attention of the whole world right now, 7.8 billion people are listening right now to you, what would you say to the whole world right now?
Never lose hope, I suppose. One of the inspiration that I get from my mom is such a like a hopeful woman. She lives in poverty, you know, still lives in poverty in the Philippines, but every day she wakes up and she have this happy, you know, mindset, and a part of that is hope. And just imagine what hope can, how powerful hope is to a human being.
Yeah.
Give a human being some sort of hope.
Yeah.
Just that one sort of beacon, and it could, you know, impact someone greatly. And I've seen how my mom is like that. So hope, never lose hope. There's always hope, and even in adversity, something good can come out of it. And in my experience, I've turned my personal adversity into a great business idea.
Yeah, I think sometimes your greatest pain can be your greatest joy. You know, depending how you frame it. I mean, I didn't expect to move to Australia, fall off the rails within weeks on ice, wreck my life for 5 years, move to Alice Springs as a plumber, and open an ice program that became nationally recognized within.
I'm sorry to hear that, by the way. I've actually never... I never knew what type of addiction.
Yeah. Oh, well, I had a lot.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of addictions, but
my assumption is just alcohol.
Yeah, no. I had a lot of addictions. But yeah, when I moved here, as yourself and Matt, as both expats also would be able to appreciate, I struggled to fit in and find friends and connection. And I didn't realize British people had a culture. So I thought French people had a culture, Italian people had a culture, German people had a culture, and British people were British. And then I moved here and I'm like, well, hang about a minute. We do have a culture and these sausages are rank and the bacon's crap. Why can't I get Branston pickle? And why can't I watch football? And why are you calling it soccer? And that's just like the tiny bits. And I really struggled to fit in here. And I did what I always have done in my life, which was to fit in with people. I would use things to take my anxiety away. It just so happened this time I chose like the worst drug on the planet, and it turned out to probably be the best thing that ever happened to me, which has now led us into having our own business. But the stuff that we did in Alice Springs, I mean, it was ridiculous. Opening an ice program as an ex-ice addict makes sense, but I mean, my CEO took some risk. I mean, I don't know what she was thinking. Fair play. I'm glad she did it. But yeah, anyway, I think your greatest pain can become your greatest gift. Depending on how you want to frame it, or live in the problem and feel sorry for yourself. But one thing I read a long time ago was, oh, you've had a hard life. Nobody cares. Work harder. Like nobody actually cares. Like 80% don't care and 20% glad it's you when you're going through things. You're like, well, you're either leaving a problem, one's coming, or you're currently walking through one. That's life. But if we look at it and see problems that they're cleverly disguised as opportunities, which is what you've done with Cobber, what I tried to do with the ICE program, and I'm sure everyone in the room has done in their own lives, then we grow. or we can just feel sorry for ourselves, but no one else cares. So you might as well get on with it.
And you can appreciate and be grateful for what it is you do have.
Yep. Talking of that, what is the one thing you're most grateful for right now in life?
I am grateful that my children are healthy. My mom in the Philippines is doing well, healthy, happy, and full of hope. And I'm grateful for my partner, Matt,
Yep.
for being by my side in this journey.
Yep.
And also very grateful for the people, my professional network and friends who supports me, like you guys.
Yep.
And it almost like there's a saying, it takes a village to raise a startup. I've heard that.
I've never heard
I've
that.
heard that in the sense of a child, but that's cool.
No, I've heard it in the. I've been around in the startup community in the last year, and I've been hearing a lot of phrase, and that's one of them that I've heard. It takes a village to raise a startup, and I wouldn't be able to move this idea forward from being it a year ago, nothing, to now. You know, we're published at the Play Store, and just awaiting for Apple Store to publish it. We have a working MVP, minimum viable product.
Yeah.
And just being able to sort of build that a year ago, I didn't know how to do it. Like, where am I gonna get the money? All that stuff. Am I actually gonna be able to pull this off? To being what it is now, having 31 pre-registered driver, and now actually we've got like people with vans who's messaging the Cobber Facebook and wanting to find out more. So it's like, I was having this realization or reflection. You know that movie Field of Dreams? Build it and they will come.
Build it, they come.
I was having that Field of Dreams moment.
Yep.
Where the drivers actually come to me and wanting to, hey, I've got a van. You know, how do I sign up?
Yeah.
People amongst family, friends, networks who are our first testers as well, and like yourself, you guys, you know.
Yeah.
It is. It's a big financial thing when it comes to applications, from my understanding. Like, there's some apps that require what you would pay for a house to get off the ground.
Well, Uber's was 130 grand or something.
For an Uber-like technology to build it in Australia or the US would cost you around $150,000 to $200,000.
That's a house
for an MVP.
Yeah.
Yes. So
wow.
I've managed to keep the cost down with people from Southeast Asia, where I come from, who have the same skill, like as much as skills as.
That's why you're an entrepreneur, because you've thought outside the box.
Yeah.
Right? When you don't have all the resource, you become resourceful.
And thanks to globalization.
Yeah, well, and that too.
All right. Well, before we close out and we finish, is there one thing you wished you were asked today, which you weren't asked, that you would like to be asked?
Like, is there something we haven't covered, or something you'd like to highlight that we haven't brought up before we close out on the show?
I think, launch party. I'm aiming for a launch party in July.
July?
And you guys are invited.
Cool.
Well, feel free to promote it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so aiming to do a launch party around July. So the aim is to do a soft launch. So part of the soft launch plan is to test the software amongst family, friends, and shareholders, and then we get that first 10 paying customers and 10 drivers to test it, and then scale from there. And by the time around July, we are gonna do our launch party.
So when will you know the exact details of the launch party?
I do not have any exact details yet, but I just know that it's going to be around July.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure when this goes up on LinkedIn around that time,
Yes.
the details will be below in the comments. So everybody in Adelaide better come along and support it.
Yes. So by at that time, the goal is it's already commercialized, officially commercialized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exciting. So, I guess, how can listeners support you and your amazing work from here? What can they do moving forward to support you if people are listening and they like what they hear?
Yeah, so just Cobber is all about the community,
Yep.
and I do have ambitions and plans to give back to the community. So
Yep.
And support causes in Adelaide that I'm passionate about.
Cool.
Whether it's homelessness, women, addiction, or Aboriginal causes.
Yep.
I've actually been contemplating on pledging my 1% to
Yes.
a particular cause,
Yeah.
and all the revenue goes towards supporting the community.
Very philanthropic. You can tell you read Bill Gates' book.
No, and that's one of the reasons why people should
Yep.
support. It's all about the community, and
Yes. What's the website so people can go and visit it?
www.cobber.app.
.app.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So finally, before we leave, 2 more questions. Lockdog will finish off with the last one. What can people expect from you next? I mean, the amount of things in even a couple of months of this first part of the year you've already achieved. Photo with the Netflix co-owner, the Lot 14 achievement that you won.
Mm-hmm.
What can people expect next from you?
I'm hoping that go through the next milestone of commercializing Cobber, opening Melbourne, opening New South Wales, and commercialize across the country and New Zealand and the UK.
Nice.
Hopefully, that's the.
All right. Well, me and Matt will deal with the UK thing. We'll holler at everyone over there, and can you get Cobber to deliver me and him some decent sausages? Because that'd be great. Yeah, pork sausages would be lovely.
Well, hey, you don't have to eat them.
Okay.
All right. As you know, this podcast is called InsideOutrz, along with a business we run, Inside Out Coaching Consultancy Collective. What does living from the inside out mean to you?
It's all about, to me, putting yourself first. I've mentioned this to Matt in the past about how loving yourself is not a selfish thing. It's filling your cup so that you can pour onto others. So I suppose that's how I could sort of associate my interpretation.
That's probably the best answer.
I feel like we may even have to have that possibly on our website now.
I like your cup analogy. Normally I've just heard you got to fill your own cup.
Yeah.
Not pour onto others.
Yeah, I haven't heard that second bit. You may need to trademark that. But for now, we're going to use it. All right, cool. Well, Roann, to say that you've never done a podcast before, you probably wouldn't realize this because you're the one that's been doing it. But for us, being involved in it, you wouldn't know you haven't done one before.
Oh, thank you.
I've enjoyed it. It's been great fun. And I feel like your story has had a lot of inspiration behind it, but it's also had a lot of substance behind it. And I implore anybody watching this, especially all the LinkedIn people, to make sure that you get hold of Roann if you have keys to doors that can open growth for Cobber, because if you don't, you're going to regret it in 5 years' time. I can tell you that right now. So thank you for coming on, Roann. Matt, thank you for bringing her to us.
And it has been a pleasure. We're going to close out.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, remember your mental health is very important and don't ever think it isn't. And if you are struggling, there is plenty of supports out there, whether it be us through Inside Out Coaching Consultancy Collective or other support networks in either South Australia and Adelaide or across the country or across the world. It is not weak to ask for help when you're not strong.
Yeah, and I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge Killer Moe's for the sponsorship.
Yeah, Killer Moe's.
Thank you, Killer Moe's, Australia.
Thank you, Dan Smith, for sponsoring the show. And thank you very much, Roann, again, for being a guest.
Thank you very much.
You, me, nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how
See you next time on the Inside Outers podcast.